My parents chose my sister's birthday over the funeral of my wife and children. When I shared the devastating news, my father's voice was steady, almost indifferent. "It's Sophia's birthday today," he said. "We won't be there." 6 months later, a single news article about me sent my family into a frenzy when they discovered what I'd done. My name is James Carver, but most people call me Jamie. I'm 41, and if you ask what I do, I'd probably give a tired grin and say I'm navigating the chaos my family has left in its wake. This isn't a story of fairy tale endings or cinematic triumphs. It's raw, messy, and full of scars that time refuses to heal. So pull up a chair and let me take you into my world. A place where grocery stores aren't just markets, but arenas of pride, betrayal, and heartbreak. I grew up in a sprawling estate in Westport, Connecticut, where wealth clung to everything, from the manicured lawns to the polished silverware. The Carver family was a name synonymous with power. My father, Edward Carver, was the head of Carver Markets, a luxury grocery chain that stretched across the country. Walk into a Carver store, and you'd be greeted by shelves glowing with imported truffle oils, handcrafted cheeses from Tuscany, and exotic fruits shipped from distant continents. Everything was flawless, the lighting, the displays, even the staff's practiced smiles. That was my father's world, a realm of perfection and prestige. As the eldest son, I was groomed to inherit this empire. From childhood, I was told the Carver name wasn't just a surname. It was a legacy. At our grand dining table, surrounded by chandeliers and rare art, my father would recount how my grandfather started with one store in Boston. "James," he'd say, his voice sharp as a whip, "you're the future of Carver Markets. Don't fail me." I'd nod, but as a young boy, I couldn't grasp why I had to bear the weight of a dynasty at 10 years old. Our home wasn't a family, it was a corporation. My mother, Lillian, always dressed in designer gowns and diamond earrings, but her gaze often drifted, as if she were trapped in a gilded cage. My younger sister, Sophia, 5 years my junior, was my father's mirror, always knowing how to charm him, always wearing the right smile. I, on the other hand, was the questioner, the one who felt stifled at gala dinners where talk revolved around investments, estates, and private jets. But everything changed when I met Claire. Claire was the spark that illuminated my shadowed world, and the flame that set every tragedy in motion. I met Claire Donovan during my junior year at Yale. It was a chilly fall day, leaves swirling across the campus quad. I was in the library, hunched over a finance textbook, when she sat at a nearby table, her arms full of books and a faint scent of vanilla trailing her. Claire was different, unpretentious, with a messy bun and hazel eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 untold stories. When she dropped her notebook, I handed it back, and as our fingers brushed, I felt a spark that jolted me awake. "Thanks," she said, her smile warm enough to melt the frost in my chest. "I'm Claire Donovan." "James Carver," I replied, my voice steadier than my racing heart. We talked, and I quickly learned Claire wasn't one for pretense. She was brilliant, compassionate, and grounded in a way that made me want to shed the weight of my last name. She spoke of her family, of her father, Thomas Donovan, who founded Donovan Grocers, a chain of affordable supermarkets serving working-class communities. "My dad believes everyone should have access to good food, not just the rich," she said with a laugh. I smiled, but a knot formed in my stomach. Donovan Grocers was the arch-rival of Carver Markets. The Carvers and Donovans were opposites in the retail world. Carver Markets catered to the elite, where customers paid premium prices for status symbols like artisanal honey in crystal jars. My father dismissed Donovan Grocers as bargain bin stores that cheapened the industry. He'd sneer at their mission to serve low-income families, calling it pandering to the masses. But Donovan Grocers, built from a single shop in Cleveland, stood for something else. Thomas Donovan's vision was to make quality food accessible to all, with programs like free weekend meals for kids in struggling neighborhoods. My father called it a publicity stunt. I secretly admired it. The rivalry wasn't just business, it was a vendetta. Carver Markets and Donovan Grocers had clashed in court over marketing campaigns, battled for prime store locations in cities like Atlanta and Seattle, and traded barbs at industry events. Once, my father and Thomas Donovan nearly came to blows at a trade summit over a remark about true quality. Sophia called it the grocery wars, but it felt like a feud tearing families apart. Despite the divide, Claire and I fell in love. Our dates weren't at upscale bistros, but at cozy coffee shops, sharing fries and debating supply chain logistics. Claire carried a sketchbook where she'd jot down ideas for making food distribution fairer. "If we could streamline delivery costs," she'd say, her eyes alight, "families wouldn't have to choose between quality and rent." I loved her vision, her heart, and the way she made me feel free. But I knew our love was a dangerous spark in a powder keg. The explosion came when I brought Claire to meet my family. Our Westport mansion was aglow, the dining room set like a scene from a royal court. My mother's smile was tight, Sophia sat with a smirk, and my father regarded Claire like an unwelcome guest. "Mom, Dad, this is Claire Donovan," I said, my voice steady despite my nerves. "She's at Yale with me." Silence fell, heavy as a storm cloud. My father's eyes narrowed. "Donovan, as in Thomas Donovan's daughter, the one dragging our industry into the gutter." Claire held my hand tightly but met his gaze. "Mr. Carver, my father's stores help people who can't afford yours. That's not dragging anything down, it's lifting people up." My father's laugh was cold. "You think selling discount goods is noble. You're a disgrace, and James, you're a disappointment." The night ended in a shouting match. My father stood, pointing at me. "Choose her, and you're no longer a Carver." Sophia watched with a glint of satisfaction while my mother stared at her plate, silent. I drove Claire home, apologizing, but she just hugged me. "Jamie, I don't need their approval, I just need you." The fallout was swift. My father summoned me to his office at Carver Market's headquarters in New York. The room was grand, with views of the skyline, but it felt like a courtroom. "I've decided," he said, his voice like steel. "Sophia will take over the company, you're out." "Because of Claire?" I asked, my throat tight. "Because you betrayed us," he snapped. "You chose the enemy's daughter, a girl unworthy of our name. You're on your own now." I left, my world crumbling. But when I called Claire and heard her voice, warm and steady, I knew I'd chosen right. She was my anchor. I visited the Donovans in Cleveland. Their home was modest, with a vegetable garden out back. Thomas Donovan greeted me with a firm handshake and a grin. "You love my daughter, Jamie. That's all that matters. You're family now." For the first time, I felt truly welcomed. But the war between the Carvers and Donovans wasn't just business, it was personal, and I was caught in the crossfire. 3 years later, I stood in our modest Seattle apartment, adjusting my tie with shaky hands. The memory of my father's rejection still stung. Sophia had been named heir to Carver Markets, and I'd walked away from it all for Claire. I didn't join Donovan Grocers despite Thomas's offers. "You've got a sharp mind, Jamie. You could help us feed more people," he'd said. But I refused, wanting to carve my own path, not lean on my wife's family. Or maybe I wasn't ready to fully sever ties with the Carver name. Instead, I joined Green Harvest, a Seattle startup focused on sustainable food logistics. My work was to get fresh produce from farms to tables in under 24 hours, affordably. It was tough, long hours, tight budgets, but it felt right. I was building something meaningful, free from my father's shadow. Claire and I married in a small Portland chapel, surrounded by her family and a few friends. No Carvers came. My mother sent a curt note, "Wishing you joy, James." My father was silent. Sophia posted a smug social media update. "To my brother, choosing love over legacy. Cheers." It hurt, but I let it go. Silence was my shield. In Seattle, Claire and I built a life. Our apartment overlooked the water, simple but ours. When our daughter Lily was born, she stole my heart with her mother's hazel eyes and fierce spirit. 2 years later, Ethan arrived, a quiet boy with my dark hair. Watching them play, I felt I'd found my purpose, not in boardrooms, but in their laughter, in Claire's gentle touch. Claire worked part-time for a nonprofit, helping families access healthy food. At night, we'd talk over coffee about Green Harvest's goals. "If we could cut costs by 15%, she'd say, "we could reach more communities." Her passion inspired me. But the Carver shadow lingered. My mother called sometimes, her voice heavy with guilt. "Are the kids okay, James?" she'd ask. I'd answer briefly, knowing she'd never defy my father. Sophia, meanwhile, sent taunts, articles about Carver Market's expansions with notes like, "Miss this, big brother?" I ignored her, but the wounds lingered. At Green Harvest, we developed a system to have delivery times, earning trust from small farms. Our revenue grew, and I took pride in knowing our work fed families, not egos. One sunny afternoon, we took Lily and Ethan to a park. Lily, now 6, chased dandelions, while Ethan, 3, rode on my shoulders. Claire lounged on a blanket, smiling. "This is our paradise, Jamie," she said. I kissed her, my heart full. "You're my paradise." That evening, driving home, the kids slept in the back, Lily clutching a dandelion, Ethan curled against her. Claire hummed softly, her hand in mine. The highway was quiet, the sunset painting the sky gold. "Today was perfect," she said. "Let's do it again soon." I smiled, but before I could reply, headlights blinded me. A massive truck swerved into our lane. "Jamie, watch out!" Claire screamed. Darkness swallowed us. I woke in a hospital, pain searing through my arm. A nurse hovered, her voice soft. "You're lucky, broken arm, some bruises. Lucky." The word felt like a lie. "Where's my family?" I rasped. She hesitated. "I'll get the doctor." The doctor's eyes were kind but heavy. "Mr. Carver, I'm so sorry. The accident was severe. Your wife and children didn't survive." The world shattered. Claire, Lily, Ethan gone. I refused to believe it, shouting, thrashing until they sedated me. My paradise was gone, and I was left in ruins. This reimagined version keeps the emotional core. Family conflict, love, loss, and the grocery industry rivalry. While changing names Alexander to James, Elena to Claire, etc. Locations, Greenwich to Westport, Portland to Cleveland. And company names Whitmore to Carver, Lancaster to Donovan. The tone is slightly more concise. with altered phrasing to avoid repetition while maintaining the story's depth. If you'd like further tweaks or a different angle, let me know.